here. I'm going to hold down Shift and drag that down. And I'm going to clone this to the element, so that way it's still part of this object. And I'm going to move this out, and I'm going to put it right down here over the lip. Let's go ahead and activate Extend on our PolyDraw. I'm going to hold down Shift, Control, and Alt, and I'm going to put this right over the lip, just like this. Okay. I'm going to hold Shift and drag this out just to the center of the mouth, kind of like this, and I'm just going to start outlining this lip here. I'm going to make these polygons just a little bit bigger, and I'm going to hold Shift, drag that out, just like that, and then start going around the mouth and tracing that out just like we did with the eye. Now I'm not creating the lip, okay, I'm going underneath the lip, so just outlining that. Okay, and there we go. Okay, and so I'm just kind of pulling those out a little bit more and setting this up. All right, so we have that. Now at this point we can go ahead and start to connect the two pieces together. So if you want, you can actually hold down Shift, kind of drag this up, and I'll just start creating a few polygons here. Once I get up to about here, I'm going to hold Shift, Control Alt, and then left click and drag from that edge to this one. And then hold Shift, Control Alt, and start moving the individual points around. And trying to follow the flow of the face, okay, with these polygons that we've just created. Okay, so we're getting all of that together. Now you might be asking, well, this is looking pretty low polygon. It's not really capturing much of the detail. In this lesson, we're going to continue working on the low poly head of our character. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've started working around the eye and around the mouth. We've connected those two pieces, and now we want to start filling in the rest of this. Really quickly, what I want to do is I want to start building in the center line around the head, all the way down the neck, and start building in some of the important loops that we need to begin filling in these different areas. Before we do that, really quickly, I want to change the pivot point of this low poly object. So I'm going to go to Hierarchy and Effect Pivot Only, and I'm actually going to type in 0, 0, and 0 on the X, Y, and Z. I want that to be at the exact same point as the high poly mesh, because whenever we scale that back down to 100, or if we just go ahead and reset the X form whenever we're finished, whatever we decide to do, I want it to be at the exact same place. So we need to make sure that we're keeping up with that pivot point as we go along. So really quickly, let's go ahead and apply a symmetry modifier to this. And with that applied, you'll see that we get the other side there. Okay. And what we can do is we can just go into Editable Poly, we can show end result, and we can start working on one side over the other. Now the colors are getting to me a little bit. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to just tone things down a little bit. I'm going to change this to a black color on the low poly object, and I'm going to do the same thing for the high poly object. And let's actually just give them a new material. That's going to be helpful. So on the standard material, for the high poly object, I'm going to go ahead and make it a darker gray. And then I'll also bump up its specularity a little bit. And we'll assign that. And then on the game resolution mesh, I'm just going to use this flat gray here. Okay. So let's select the low resolution mesh. Let's apply that. And that just makes things a little bit easier to work on. If you want, you could change it to whatever color you like for your own project, but for me, this works better. Okay, so let's go in and let's go to Editable Poly, PolyDraw, and Extend. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to drag out this edge. I'm going to do just a couple, and I'm going to drag this out to the center. Holding Shift, Control, Alt, and just moving those out. Now you may have a little bit of a hard time trying to figure out what points are which, and it might be a little difficult to see these points. If you want, you could choose one of these sub-object modes. Vertex mode is usually the best one to go with because it shows you everything without shading it like a polygon. The only problem that I have with this is that it creates this orange wireframe, and it's really hard to look at. And so if you scroll down to your subdivision surface rollout, you can actually change the color of the cage that's being used. So I can actually change it to something like this lighter blue, and then change its selection color to something like red, which is a little more traditional. So you could do something like that just to make it a little easier on yourself. Okay. Now from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to start dragging up this edge all the way around, even up across the nose and things like that. And I don't care if it's missing parts of this, if it's not looking that great. I'm not worried about that just at the moment. I'm just trying to get this strip right across the nose. I'm going to hold Alt and Control and go from this edge to here. And then I can come in and I can start to straighten up these vertices a little bit, just kind of bringing